The US Coast Guard confirms around 40 hours of oxygen is left on board a submersible missing off the coast of Newfoundland in Canada. A major search for the vessel is underway. It went missing an hour and 45 minutes into its dive to the Titanic shipwreck on Sunday. 5 people are on board. Authorities say search teams are working around the clock.
The Coast Guard has coordinated search efforts, which have searched a combined 7,600 square miles, an area larger than the state of Connecticut. These search efforts have focused on both surface, with C-130 aircraft searching by sight and with radar, and subsurface, with P-3 aircraft were able to drop and monitor sonar buoys. To date, those search efforts have not yielded any results.
Joining me now is Associate Professor Eric Fusil, Director of the Shipbuilding Hub at the University of Adelaide. Thanks very much for your time. So, from what we know so far, the normal communication for the submarine is text messages because it's so deep, 4,000 metres down there. No one's, or the mothership hasn't heard from it for all this time. What's the most likely explanation or explanations in your view?
We can have a few events that could have occurred. Typically, most submersibles they run on batteries, so we could imagine that there has been a power blackout, and that would have basically rendered the submersible incapable of controlling her trajectory and using communications unless they've got some backups on board. Another explanation is they could have a crash in the software. We know that on the Titan, they've got a very advanced technology in terms of touch screen and hardened PlayStation controllers to have a very intuitive steering of the submersible. It could be something different, could be a fire on board that would have neutralized some of the systems, or maybe creating some toxic fumes for the pilot and the passengers. It could also be a flood, which would have been much more dramatic, even to the possibility of having an implosion of the pressure, or the submarine could be entangled within the Titanic wreck. And another possibility is that the submersible is adrift on the surface. We don't know.
So obviously there are some catastrophic examples that would end up in a tragedy there. If it has got to this situation where it could use these PlayStation controls, I think you mentioned they were, because one person who's been on it said, yeah, we lost communication and we got out the controllers and got back out. If that were the case, would we have heard from it by now? Is there a possibility it's floating and for some reason it just can't communicate, even though it's at the top of the water? Or would we definitely have heard from it if that were the case?
It's a possibility that the submersible is on the surface and adrift somewhere where she remains to be found by maritime patrol aircraft or surface ships. Because basically, we know that the crew cannot escape from the submersible without external help. It's a bolted hatch, so there is no escape hatch that you can open from the inside. The most tragic scenario would be that they are still below the surface, and because you do not have any radio or other means, it's only acoustic and short-range means of communication with the Titan, assuming that they still have power on board.
If it's down there and they've got some oxygen left still, it would be able to be found, right? So the French ship that's heading there has a tethered submersible that can go down and look. So if that's the case, whatever's happened, they'll see it. What could they do then? Is there a way to pull it up? Is it, can you slip a cable through something? Will there be anything they can do if it's stuck there for whatever reason?
Yeah, there are a few scenarios where we could definitely have some positive outcomes with the help of that robotic vehicle. The robot will have a camera and spotlights and will be tethered to the mothership on the surface. With the help of a robotic arm, that robot could disentangle the Titan from the place where she may be trapped, or help them in any other way to create some positive buoyancy and bring the Titan back to the surface. That's what we hope for. If the Titan is far away from the Titanic wreck, we have to remember it's a wide area to search, and that robot coming to her help has only spotlights and camera, and it takes a while to swipe all over the Titanic. And if she's too far away, the robot won't be able to see much further than 10, maybe 20 meters in those pitch black waters. So that's going to be finding a needle in a haystack.
Yeah, so that's the hope. The ship can get there, go down, it's close, there's oxygen. If it's something like Tangled that can get up, that seems to be the hope remaining. How risky is this sort of adventure, I guess? Tourism described that as well. I mean, it's described as difficult as space travel at the bottom of the ocean, 4,000 metres down there. Is this the sort of thing that nearly happens a lot more than we realise, if you like?
No, it's not that common. I mean, having such an expedition as tourism in the depths is not that frequent. I mean, OceanGate is one, if not the only company to propose such expeditions, and this is why they had some experts with them. So basically, it is still a niche engineering capability to design and build those submersibles. We have to remember when James Cameron wanted to go as deep as the Mariana Trench, he couldn't find anyone in the US willing to take the risk to design and build a submersible like that. So he had to come to Australia and team up with Ron Allum to create the deep sea Challenger, because the risks are so immense that no one is not only willing to do the engineering bit, but also to ensure the safety of the passengers.
Okay. Associate Professor Eric Fusil, thank you.
My pleasure.